I don't fear an army of lions led by a sheep. I fear an army of sheep led by a lion.
Ooh.
I need to do it every second of every day. And if I don't, someone else is going to be better than me.
You just watch. You have one little conflict and you both handle it correctly, brother. Your relationship's going to be like 10 times better.
Storms are God's design. You have some tragic events coming. Don't think about praying for the storm to pass. Think about what you can accomplish in the rain.
When you actually know who you truly are, you can go anywhere. And as you said, you can maintain your integrity, your morals and your values towards anyone and anything.
All right, guys. So welcome back to another episode of The Locker Room. I'm here with Bayley and Jamie. So today's episode is a very interesting one. It's something that has, I guess...
I don't know why I'm laughing. Keep going.
What we're going to be talking about is some life lessons, whether it's quotes, whether it's messages we've been told by, your parents, your colleagues, random people on the street, whatever it is, and things that have really made a massive change in our lives for the good.
Yep.
So it's life lessons for the boys.
Life lessons for the boys and maybe even the girls.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're non-binary as well.
Look, we do appeal to the masses.
Yes, we do. That's right.
So, guys, who wants to kick it off?
Well, I reckon we saw Bailey's list. Not that we've actually seen what he's written down, but Bailey often comes. I'd say he's the most prepared out of all of us.
Honestly, he is.
He's the most prepared. I was actually saying to Nick before. He
hustles us.
He hustles us.
He hustles
we actually
us.
need him in the group.
He's like, he goes, mate, yeah, I got a few things planned. He's got like proper indexed Excel spreadsheet.
I'm actually so impressed.
What he's gonna say.
So Bailey, on that note, why don't you kick things off with what's the first most important life lesson that someone has taught you?
All right, before we get into that.
Oh, the cliffhanger.
Wait, before we get into
That was a bit zesty of you.
Yeah,
bro.
well, say, fuck. Cut that.
I had to know.
He's been giving us some zesty handshakes today all day, hasn't he?
But no, I think it's good that we come in here to pass on knowledge, and preparation is key, This is good. All right, I'll kick it off.
Kick it off, please.
A life lesson that really impacted me was the last company that I worked for. There was some really incredible salespeople. Actually, I saw that, bro. What are you hooking up with the mic?
No, it's you. You love doing that.
My most important life
If
lesson.
you guys can notice something about Bailey,
He
mention that in
likes
the
to look
comments.
down the barrel
And
and lick his lips. The most important life lesson for me was bang. Sold.
Oh, I can't not do it now. Just get dry.
That's right.
And guys, before we continue, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Getaways.
The boys and I are blessed to be partnering with Getaways, who have some amazing short stay homes all around Australia.
Whatever the occasion, whether it's a trip away with your boys, a family holiday, or even a surprise vacation for your partner, Getaways has you covered.
Make sure you guys go ahead and check out Getaways on their website or on their social media platforms. We'll be leaving the link in the description below. And without further ado, let's jump straight back into the episode.
So one of the biggest lessons that I learned at the last place I worked, my boss was really good at sales, and he taught me about the 7-38-55 model.
Ooh, what's
Have you guys
that?
heard of this?
No, I haven't.
So it actually helps a lot. So everything we say, only 7% of the impact is actually what the words we say. The rest of it is down to your tonality and your body language. So 7% of the impact of what you say is the words.
Wow.
38% of it is your tone. And the other 55 is body language, posture, and the delivery.
Wow.
So
makes sense, though.
this was like a full study that was done 40 years ago that analyzed all these people. And basically they came to the conclusion that the actual words you say aren't even the most impactful part, which I think is a pretty big lesson for me. And that resonated with me a lot because in sales, negotiation, even networking, we talk about this a lot on the locker room, is how you come across, the way you deliver yourself has a massive, massive impact on how people receive you.
Yeah,
so that was just such an interesting fact that it actually puts numbers to it. 7% of the delivery is only the words.
Wow.
Everything else is tone and delivery.
And when I was in sales as well, I something that you actually just kind of mentioned and it sparked a memory. One of the successful salespeople that I was speaking to, they were top of the game, and they were telling me about how it's important to be mirroring whoever you're, trying to sell.
I've heard this before. Yeah.
Right. So depending on like the lady was telling me, she's like, if I'm selling a, $10 million property, I'm selling to, a Upper East Side, Eastern Suburbs, young mum or whatever it is. She's like, I'm turning it up. I'm matching that energy of her because she's going to resonate with that.
Yeah.
However, if it's obviously a more reserved gentleman or a younger person or an older person, she mirrors that energy. How she delivers, as you said, her tonality, her body language, everything is suited to mirror what that person is giving off.
If you do that, it just gives a person a sense of like familiarity with you or relatability on like a very subconscious level.
There's so much, like with all the psychology books that I've read quite a few. There's so many little like tricks, hacks.
It's the intricate details.
It's the intricate details. And because humans like have been studied for years. Humans study humans, human behavior, like what we've done over the last 100 years, the repetitions with our body language, how to sell, how to provoke emotion, how to be more convincing. Like for example, speaking with your hands open. I was told speaking with your hands open when you're presenting or talking is a much less intimidating way to speak.
It's almost like welcoming.
It's
almost.
welcoming. It allows someone to feel safe, for example. Whereas if you're maybe closed off or you've crossed your arms, it's less inviting. Like little things, like maybe nowadays are more like common knowledge, but little things. As you said, the intricate details could be the difference between you making a sale, for example, or not making a sale, or making that connection.
So you spoke about emotions just now.
Yeah.
And this kind of ties me into one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life about emotions. I heard this off one guy whose name I will not mention because we might get, won't even say anything more. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life, which has helped me so much, is to never allow your life to be dictated by your emotions.
Wow.
So a bit of context, I'm 30 now, but I'd say for the first 26, 27 years of my life, I believed that whatever I felt was true. So if I say, for example, and I know I say this a fair bit sometimes, but like if I woke up one morning feeling sad, I'd think there was something wrong with me. I'd be like, why am I feeling sad? That's so weird. Oh no. And then I'd start going down that rabbit hole where I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to complement my emotion by feeding more into it and living a life where it's almost like I'm proving myself right.
Yeah.
And what happens when you do that is that firstly, nothing gets done. You're not productive because you think you're a certain type of way. And then secondly, you victimize yourself and put yourself in a box where you just become that thing that you think you are. But it's a fleeting emotion.
That's true, bro. Yeah.
And so exactly. So since then, I've actually become aware of it and I've actually stopped living my life based upon how I emotionally feel. And bro, my life has gotten a million times better.
That's a big one.
I'm more productive. I'm more focused. I'm more just with it. Like I know what's going on. And whenever I feel something, of course, someone could have triggered me, for example, or maybe I saw some sad video and I feel a bit sad, or maybe I feel ecstatically happy or excited or whatever it is. But I know that you can't trust your emotions all the time.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we have thousands, if not millions of emotions every day. And I think that one, just key learning from that person whose name I will not mention has helped me a lot.
I think we've all, knowing you guys now, I think we've all kind of experienced that as well. As we've matured, we've come to that realization which, as a young man, we weren't in control of our emotions. We weren't in control of our emotions and we would succumb to our emotions.
Yeah.
But I think as we've gotten older, and it's still not, perfect. I'm sure we can all, improve on it, but we're learning more and more. You just saw
me have a bit of a
but
a tantrum
before the podcast.
Just before, guys, like before we shot this, something happened in Jamie's life, to do with his business. We won't get into it, but it was a bit of a kick in the nuts. It was a kick in the nuts, and he was quite upset about it. And we gave him some space. He went for a walk. He came back, and it was like
game face.
It was like it didn't happen. Sure, in the back of his mind, maybe some way he's like, shit, that sucked. But he's like, all right, I was emotional. I felt shit. I was really angry, and maybe I wanted to kick a wall. But hang on a second. Let me separate myself from my emotions. Is that going to change anything? Is that going to change the outcome? Is it going to make it better? Is the business going to go up because I was angry? No. And that takes a man. That's hard.
Yeah.
It's so much easier said than done when you're in the minute.
Yeah. Off the back of that, I think as well, emotions should be indicators, not necessarily a compass. So I think there is a line.
I like that.
Whereas like you don't want to completely separate yourself from your emotions to the point where you're just a robot, because
100%.
emotions are what make life
They drive you.
special as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
100%.
feeling those emotions are what we are as humans.
Some of the
So-
best times in life happen because of how you feel.
yeah, and
emotionally.
appreciate it. But exactly what Chris said, there's a difference between like being absorbed and controlled by them when actually like, you know, just feeling them and using them as indicators and
love what
enjoying
you
them
said.
rather than
Not a
them being the
compass.
compass to your life.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think, you know, in that moment, I felt obviously very frustrated. Still do, by the way. But then I was like, you know what? Like, you know, I'll let myself feel a bit shit for maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. And then I'm like, you know what? Like, no, like, whatever happens in my life, I feel like it's my fault.
Yeah.
And so I take full accountability of it, and I'll just make it better, and I'll just improve it. So whatever.
Yeah, I actually said that to you when you walked back in. Me and Chris both said, like, you know, we respect the fact that you had something really big happen. You felt the emotion. You went for a walk, addressed it, and came back in with your game face on. We said, bro, I respect that about you. We're about to film a podcast, and you got your game face on, back in the zone, ready and prepared. And that's what I love seeing in a mate, because I really respect that.
Jamie's actually, like, not just today, he's actually been like a master at doing that over the last, I've seen it on the last few years. There's been so many times where like I was like, he's the day's gone.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, Jamie, mate, if one thing went wrong, that day was a write-off. Doesn't matter if he had 10 business meetings, he had to see family, he had to see his friends, had to see... That day's over. One thing was wrong, he was in his head, he succumbed to his emotions. And in the last, I'd say 3 years, doesn't matter, like the world could be on fire. And Jamie's like, I've got a business meeting, I've got a podcast, I've got work to do.
Yep.
He'll go film, and it's like, he's the happiest guy in the world. Like you can't even tell.
100%.
And that is amazing.
Awesome.
And that takes time, guys.
Yeah.
So I guess
That's a good tip, yeah.
I guess to you know, again, piggyback off that, it's kind of in the same realm, but it's not exactly. So the quote that I wanted to say was, don't let other people put their limitations on you.
Nice.
So what I mean by that is, you know, everyone has limitations. Everyone has expectations of you, or think you're only able to do a certain thing, or you're not able to do this, or you are able to do this. But why should you value their opinion over yours? You know, for example, and the reason I'm getting to this is, so I think we've mentioned it in, you know, one of the previous podcasts, but when I was coming up in my training, one of the pivotal moments in my like whole training life was when I was at an expo, a fitness expo, and
This is a good story, this one.
I was at a fitness expo and I was lining up to see one of the, you know, famous bodybuilders.
This is what, 2017, 18?
Yeah. And I was so excited to meet this bodybuilder, right? I was so excited. I lined up, you know, young kid in the gym, so excited. And just before I got, I was like the first, like next person to go. And there was a girl, and she was like, she was a no one. Like at the time, she was just, they hire like people to just, you know, control the line. She was like semi-fit, right? And I said to her, I was like, oh, like I'm so excited. One day I'm going to be on stage, like there, and people are going to come for photos with me. And then for whatever reason, she was just an absolute itch babe.
Yeah.
She might have been having a bad day. I don't know. She's just up herself. She goes, yeah, good luck. You're never going to get there.
Wow.
What? And how old were you?
Just straight to your face, yeah?
Bro, like straight to my face.
How old were you at the time?
I was like maybe, I don't know, 17, 18,
yeah,
19.
so like almost like a, not a kid,
I was-
but like
I
a
was-
younger,
yeah, youth.
younger
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
to her.
I was a
the
youth.
world at his hands.
Huge.
Not
just
even
trust your
reached your
dreams.
growth potential.
Right. in
And
front of
like I could have taken that and said, shit, this girl's right. She's in the fitness industry. Who am I? I'm never going to get there. Because a lot of time we do. A lot of the time we do listen to our friends or peers or random people that do tell us we can't do something or put limitations on us.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, I said, I'm going to prove myself. Like this moment, I'm never going to forget. And I'm going to make sure that I do this. Not for her, but because I know I could. And I wasn't
That's
going to
so
let her.
good.
And I did.
Yeah.
I was, you know, a couple years later, I was on stage. People were coming to get photos with me.
Yep, yep,
And it was a
That's
surreal.
so cool,
it was
man.
a
And you were, bro, you were the
I
best
love
looking
that.
there out of all of them.
It was a
gonna be
surreal,
honest.
surreal experience
Yeah.
because I didn't let the limitations be put on me.
Right.
Isn't it
That's
crazy
so
how like
good.
you aspire or you dream to be somewhere, and the moment you're actually there, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's the weirdest feeling because I've experienced the same thing. But you know, I think that just goes to show that you can actually use your biggest, you could say that was a bit of a downfall moment to your advantage and weaponize that.
Bailey?
Bit of a story time.
Here we
sorry.
go. Story time. Paragraph.
Nah, this is something that I've learned. I listen to a lot of other podcasts. It was only a matter of time, Nah, guys like Chris Williamson,
where's
these
the
guys
bill?
are intellectual geniuses. And one thing that I really adopted from them was be very careful of the stories that you tell yourself because they become the chains of your limiting beliefs, right? Let me explain. So
Very true.
everyone has a perception of how they see the world and they put almost limiting beliefs on themselves based on their experience. But one thing that we have to be very careful of is what stories you are telling yourself. For example,
Yes.
it's like the people who don't have money and they say all rich people are greedy and selfish.
Yep.
They are saying that as a coping mechanism to make themselves feel
feel
better
better.
about the situation because they know they can't get there.
Yeah.
It's like the young guys who say, oh, all really attractive girls that are models are self-absorbed and super shallow and all they care about is themselves.
Yep.
Bro, you've just never pulled a hot chick.
And you
because
know for a fact that's not true.
it's
babe.
not true, bro. So the lesson there is be very careful of the story that
I pull models, bitch.
I pull tenors
be
without
very
trying.
careful of
I
the
just
stories
stayed
that you tell yourself because they will become your reality. Because what you
Yeah, so
project,
true.
it's like tying into this to a
so
story.
true,
It's
bro.
like
So
Formula
true.
One drivers. They say never ever look at the wall because if you look at the wall, you'll go towards it.
so
Keep your
true.
eyes on the track. So if you're saying all hot girls are self-obsessed or shallow, you're gonna see that.
Yep.
Tying it into like the bodybuilding side of things for you, I'm sure you've had plenty of people say, "Oh, he must be on gear. He must
Yeah.
be self-obsessed.
Always.
All he cares about is himself."
Always.
That's such a shallow way to live.
Yep.
It's like, no, bro, you just can't be as jacked as him, and you're jealous, and you're
100%.
putting that
Yeah.
you're projecting that into reality as a coping mechanism to protect yourself, to make you feel better about your
Yes.
situation because you can't get there.
Yes. I agree.
So be very, very careful of the stories you tell yourself because they will actually put a ceiling on how big you can make it in life.
So true, man. And like little things such as like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Versus I can do this. I was exactly the same. My whole life, I was like a little bit anxious about things,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, I can't do this. What if I can't do this? But now it's like, no, I can do this. And bro, the amount of progress I've had is insane.
Yeah, and every story you make up about the future is made up anyway. So you may as well tell yourself stories that aid your growth and aid your beliefs because you made it up anyway. Whether you think the world's going to end tomorrow and you're not going to make it and you're going to be poor for the rest of your life, or whether you think you're going to be a millionaire, you made it up either
You don't know
way.
what's gonna
So why
happen.
wouldn't you project a life and think about a life that's untapped or has untapped potential?
Have you ever had that sort of transition where like you had negative self-talk and then you switched it and something good happened?
I'd love to say yes.
Putting you on the spot here.
I'd love to say yeah. I mean, in certain areas, 100%.
always been positive.
100%. I've always been very positive,
That's
and I guess my life experiences, like, even through sport and things, you learn these character traits to believe in yourself, right? So I learned this at a very young age.
Yeah.
But in certain elements, so for example, I'll tie it back to even in business scenarios. We talk about this all the time. Throw yourself in the deep end and prove to yourself that you can do something that's so scary, like I've done skydiving. Never ever thought I would do that because
Nick's
you
gonna do
think you're gonna
skydiving one
die.
day.
Or starting MMA, you think I would never be able to fight someone because I'll get knocked out. It's the scariest thing ever. But you do it. You go into a business scenario, you want to pitch for a business that's worth $1 million. You're asking someone for $1 million. You're like, who would give me that?
Yep.
Just believe in it and throw yourself in the deep end and prove it to yourself.
100%. Even simply, like as you said, like even just going for like a really long run, like say half a marathon or even run around the bay run, whatever it is, like you say, oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's 45 minutes straight of running or an hour.
Yeah.
And then you go and do it.
Yeah.
Exactly,
You just
bro.
shut up and you go and do it and you go, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
But you had put that limitation on yourself.
Yeah.
I think, staying positive and not being negative with yourself is massive.
100%.
Like one thing that I like to do, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I think I read it in a book, but like a couple years back, I made it like my mission that, you know, when you see someone, like you meet one of your friends or colleague or whatever it is, they ask you, oh, how are you going? People don't actually pick up on this because it's so like just within your daily that you don't really think about what you say. People will go, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, this and that. But little things like this, I make it like a habit to be like, I'm fantastic. I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Never been better.
Yeah.
I might be feeling shit. But I think as soon as you've just even like started that narrative
Yep.
of, I've seen better days.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You're like cementing that. You are gonna have a shit day.
Yeah.
If someone asks, no one wants to hear me having a shit day.
Yeah.
I want to be like, no, I'm having a good day, fantastic day,
Yeah.
and then my day actually gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've just
Perspective,
kept
bro.
this positive, perspective, positive. Otherwise, you're just gonna feel sorry for yourself.
So what do you think about this, right? Because obviously, Bailey, you mentioned sport before. This is a good example for not just sport, but other things as well. If something is actually going wrong in your life, right? Like you've just been copping L's left, right, and center for say weeks or months. What do you guys think it takes for someone to actually, that might be caught up in that negative feedback loop to then shift it at the worst possible time when they're feeling, completely beat up, completely down. They've got like almost no life left in them. How does someone actually turn a 180 and jump into that positive mindset?
I think personally, like let's eliminate what doesn't help. Being negative. There's no situation ever that if you're in a negative emotion loop or whatever you said, that being more negative is going to help. It's just gonna add fuel to the fire. You're gonna dig a bigger hole.
Yeah.
Personally, I think having good people around you is important.
Yep.
I think friends that we've talked about before, friends that can pull you out of your shit.
Yeah.
And literally just be honest with you and be like, look, your life's not going great. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
What can you do now?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do right now? And we've talked about this before. Write a list, for example. We've talked about this. Write a list of what you want to achieve. Have little wins. All it takes is one little win. One little win
Yep.
to then get that positive feedback happening.
Yeah.
That,
All
that-
momentum, bro.
It's momentum.
It's so
exactly,
true,
bro.
It's so true.
And
Sorry.
I was going to say, and for men, it's accountability and responsibility.
Yep.
The times when you feel the most like nothing's happening or least motivated, and I'm not taking credit away from tragic life events.
Yep.
There are things that will happen in your life that almost take you out. But I find for men, and just from personal experience, when you have a load to carry, whether that's financially, self-expectations, work, when you have a load to carry and you feel like you're contributing positively to society and other people's lives, I think the quickest way, just as I'm free-flowing, the quickest way is to shift your focus from yourself to think about others. How can I help someone else? Yes, I'm feeling so trash right now, but how can I go out and buy a homeless man some food? Or how can I help someone else's situation? And that'll instantly give you a bit of momentum. Be like, okay, I'm actually making a difference here.
Yep.
And that can be the momentum shift you need to be like, all right, I'm worthy, I'm needed, I'm carrying a load, I'm doing something. And as a man, that responsibility and accountability and sense of adding value can be the thing that tips you over and gets you out of bed.
I love
think
that.
accountability is a big one.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we feel sorry for ourselves. I think, and we've all done it.
Yeah.
And it's not a good trait to have because no one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares.
No one cares.
No one actually
Literally
cares.
no one cares.
If you're sooking in a corner for days, your family will come check up on you, make sure you're healthy. But no one cares.
They've got their own stuff to worry about.
No one's gonna get you out of that negative. Only you can.
Yeah.
Look at all the successful CEOs that we all love and talk about. They've all had really bad low points. A lot of them have had poverty stories where they had the classic story of I had $5 left in my pocket and I either was gonna end my life or I was gonna go into this path, and they've somehow gone from the absolute lowest, changed their perspective, taken accountability. Like Bayley literally just nailed it on the head.
It's so true.
Change your perspective.
Yep.
Okay. Take accountability. I think is a huge one.
Yeah.
You can be accountable.
Yeah.
Only
100%,
you can make the
100%.
change, and it can happen because everyone else has done it.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's so simple. Like I remember last night I was in a bit of a lull. Like I felt a bit lazy for an hour, and I'm like, how can I get myself out of this? And it's not that hard. It's really, really easy. You might think to yourself, I'm experiencing all this pain and all this suffering, which you might be, but bro, it literally takes that one thought change from just negative to positive, and you can do that in a blink of an eye. Our mate Alistair, remember him?
Yeah.
We had a mate that basically used to say, I'm going to put an alarm on for, I think it was 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I have to be out of bed by, I think it was 10 seconds in, or 10 rings of that alarm.
I think he had and then he had
A few
a
rings.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
He had the 3, 2, 1.
What does that personify? That personifies the fact that it can literally take a millisecond for you to change your entire state of being from a negative to a positive. It's that simple. Don't overcomplicate. Don't think to yourself, I've got to go, I live rural Australia, I've got to go to the beach now, which is a 4-hour drive away to get into a good set. No, bro, in the blink of an eye, you can change your state.
Yeah.
Like that.
You know what I like about what we're talking about is these are almost mental frames that you can adopt straight away. And the more you practice these, the more effective they become in your life. Because the reality is, challenges that pretty much take you out are a rite of passage. So it's only going to be a matter of time before something happens in your life before you're pretty much knocked
A
out.
bad day's coming.
So
That's what someone says.
storms are God's design. Like that's part of the life. You have some tragic events coming.
It
but
will
it's
happen.
almost thinking about what can you. I love the quote. It's like,
Yep.
don't think about praying for the storm to pass. Think about what you can accomplish in the rain.
That's right.
Because it's like you're going to go through it. Think about how you can grow through this and adapt these mental frames that will help you get through the tough times.
There's always a positive in every situation if you change your perspective. And I know that's easier said than done. I know if you're in the dumps, you're like, nothing's going my way. But I've got a quote here. And this is something you can take, right? The probability of you existing at all comes out to a 1 in 10. And I'm going to stuff up this number, but it's like 10 to the power of 2685 million.
Yeah.
So it's like
That's so
it's a
empowering, bro.
10 followed by 2,685,000 zeros.
Wow.
That is
Yeah.
the chance of you existing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the fact that you exist is already
Such a-
lucky.
yeah.
Such a blessing. Yeah.
And
Like,
even if
it's a
you've heard that
blessing.
before, you can hear that every day and it will switch your mindset on the spot.
100%.
Yeah.
Just you being here alive, breathing is lucky.
Yeah.
So I think if you take that, no matter what you're going through, and go, okay, I'm going to change my life. I think if you change your perspective, you can definitely change your life.
100%, yeah.
All right, so guys, what I'm going to be talking about for my next quote that I think has been really, I guess, not so much impactful, but I think is a really important life lesson that I've been told when I was a little bit younger, which I think is just good to know about the people around you. And the quote is, people want to see you do well, but not better than them.
Especially in Australia.
Especially in Australia, right?
Especially here,
And this
bro.
is something that like I had to, I guess, learn, or I didn't know to an extent when I was younger. I just thought everyone was like, us, who, I'm thankful that I'm around good people who, want to see me do well. And I want to see them do well. And I get excited, when they're doing well. I'm always clapping in their corner.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, especially in Australia, we have a society that, oh yeah, well done, mate. You're doing well. And then as soon as you start making more money or get that better job, people start turning.
Yeah.
People get spiteful. People talk shit behind your back. And it's very toxic. So I think it was a good life lesson for me to be like, just be careful, because once you start really doing well in something or excelling, you watch the people, sometimes even close people, to turn on you and be jealous and do you wrong.
It's what you guys were saying before. It's like no one wants to see you do better because it kind of like points out their own misery or their own lack of confidence to even try something of that caliber. So I've obviously experienced it in social media. I know you have. We all have in our own different ways. And I think that, me personally, I get a lot of haters. People commenting hate comments, or you're a flop, or why are you trying so hard to do this?
Let's be real. If you post anything online, I was having a look the other
Anything.
day. I was scrolling on Reels. There's people that are like, have done 12 knockouts, like
Yeah.
the best fighters in the world. There's people roasting
Always,
anything
bro.
you do.
Always.
If you put yourself online, and this is what I've realized, I'm new to this.
Yeah.
I've realized that no matter what you posted online, even if it's the best value you've ever said, there'll be someone that has an opposite opinion and will just spray you.
Always. But
It's
you've gotta-
crazy,
You've
bro.
got to feel sorry for these people because like
Who is on these
Yeah, but
comments,
it's
bro?
like some like overweight like
That's
guy
what I mean,
in his
like-
undies
Yeah.
in an attic, like
Yeah.
like, and he's like, oh, he's eating his pizza, and he's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
well, you look
You're a
shit.
tosser,
Yeah,
bro.
you're a tosser. You're not doing
Exactly.
anything good with your life.
So something that I kind of learned along, the past, 10 years of doing social media and being online and making videos is that I kind of, when I experienced hate comments, I felt different if there were two types of hate. So one hate was particularly like, oh, you're a flop, you're a try hard, give up, get a real job, stop annoying people. That was okay. But the hate I actually didn't like, and I can attest and admit that some things I did, in the past in my videos were a bit over the top. But the hate that I really actually felt bad over was when I'd do a prank, for example, and it actually upset someone. So someone would be like, hey man, like they'd comment being like, look, that was really like unfair what you did to that guy in the shop. You ruined his day. I think hate in general, I think for the most part is dumb.
That's not really hate though. I think
It's-
that's just
it's
like
it's
constructive
constructive
criticism.
criticism.
Correct. So my point is exactly what you said. It's like you've got to realize why you're getting the hate in the first place. As you said, Bayley, you can simply be getting it because someone's jealous of you, that you're getting yourself out there, or that
Not even that. They just want to hate on anyone.
Yeah.
Just whoever's in front of their way.
Exactly.
We're getting
Just
it today.
unhappy with
But
their
then
lives.
where does constructive feedback come into the play as well? So you've got to kind of like understand both ends, but also
But if someone goes, you're a tosser, there's no constructive criticism.
exactly. But if someone says, "Hey, I reckon you can do this better," me and Nick were filming at Macquarie Uni yesterday, and we met someone that said, "Hey, man, I love your videos." First thing I said to him, or you said to him, was like, "Thank you, bro. Do you have any feedback for us?" I think if you can get to a place where you're open to feedback and you don't take it personally,
Check your ego, bro.
check your ego.
Ego is a big one.
I literally said to the guy, I'm like, bro, do you have any feedback about my videos that we can improve on, anything you don't like? The moment you can get to that stage, that's where you start seeing the improvements.
Yeah.
It's because you're no longer thinking of yourself as some person that you might not be in the public eye or whatever it is. You're actually allowing others to give you feedback. But it's a 50-50. You've got to know which type of feedback you're getting. So a massive quote that actually helped me recently is from a guest we recently just had on. So Sanjay Parashar.
Yes, that episode was amazing.
Amazing.
It was good.
man.
It was really
So
good.
many bombs.
You know those guys that like kind of are in your life, you know, whether it's friends or colleagues or business partners, whatever it is, even family members, where when you're around them, it's like you kind of experience this whole new outlook on life. Those people that just like ignite that sort of fire, that motivation within you.
Yeah, so just quickly, you said that to us before he came in.
Yeah.
And we
Jamie
didn't know
said
the
to me
extent
and
of
Chris,
it.
he was like, Sanjay's one of those people that when he walks into the room, you hang around him for 15 minutes and
Yeah.
your perspective on life changes.
Completely.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But he
does.
he just rubs off. He radiates
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
energy and
Good
this
energy.
such heightened level of perspective that makes
Yeah.
you question and puts you on the spot as
He
well.
puts
which
you
I
on the
love.
spot,
Yeah,
bro.
he does.
Yeah.
So this guy is, he's been a friend of mine for a couple of years now. Really good guy. And yeah, from the moment I sort of like met him, I was like, this guy has something different. And those are people that you want to surround yourself with. So Sanjay, whenever we meet up, you know, a couple of times a year probably, but now more recent, he gives me these really great life lessons. And the one that I really took notice of recently, among a couple that he's actually taught me, is there's a difference between execution and just working. And let me break it down for you. A lot of times you can feel like you're being productive. Oh, I'm on my computer. I've done my morning routine. I've gone to the gym, you know. But what are you actually doing that's making that move on the chessboard further to the end?
Yes. What's actually moving the needle?
What's moving the needle? So a lot of times in my life, you know, I feel like, you know, I'm doing great. I'm actually working. But if you're not actually checking how far you're getting from the work that's put in, you're actually not getting anywhere. And
So true.
there's so many times that people think, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then 5 years down the track, you're like, why am I in the same position? And I can attest for this. In many ways in my life, I feel like maybe that's happened to me. But when you actually start executing and you incorporate measurable analytical measurements to actually see how far you've come, that's the beauty. For example, Chris, I'm sure you're familiar with like DEXA scans. DEXA scans basically where you can scientifically measure your muscle mass and your fat. I think for me personally, I've found them a great help because I can always say to myself, you know, I've been doing this gym program for 8 to 12 weeks and think I look bigger
You see
and
tangible process.
yeah,
progress.
think in the mirror I look better or whatever, or more shredded. But when you see those numbers on the board, that's a whole different game because maths doesn't lie. So Sanjay, shout out to Sanjay out there, execution's so much different.
Bro, that's so good.
It's so
It's
different.
so
to just
valid
work.
as well. Because
Yeah.
it's such a subtle difference in how it feels.
Yeah.
But when you actually have trackable, measurable metrics, I think that's like super valuable as well.
100%.
Nice, bro.
Yeah, I can't add anything. That was awesome. Honestly.
So I just
All
execute every
right.
day.
The next life lesson from me is one of my biggest inspirations of all time.
Me?
Myself. Nah. So Alexander the Great,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say Alex Hayes.
one of the most impactful men who's ever walked the earth.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fact that we're still talking about him today means he's done something incredible. And for those that don't know, look him up. He basically conquered in his time the whole known world. I don't know the exact age,
That's why
but
he's
like
the great.
in his 20s, like early 20s, he was a fierce leader. He would go into other tribes.
his 20s.
Yeah, bro.
He's young,
He-
man.
I think he
Like
died
our
at
age.
30.
Wow.
So, yeah, in his 20s was literally conquering the whole known world. That's someone that's inspiring.
Wow.
So, and my dad actually
Met
shows me all these guys. He's really into history and leadership, and he's an incredible leader. And I get my leadership drive and I guess inspiration
Oi.
from, inspiration from him.
Does he also have testy pop
Yeah,
75
probably,
seconds?
probably. But yeah, I think leadership is such an incredible skill. And one of the things that I learnt by studying Alexander the Great that really stood out for me was he said, this is a quote, "I don't fear an army of lions led by a sheep. I fear an army of sheep led by a lion."
Ooh.
And
I love that.
and the lesson in that is, who are you as a leader? What emotions are you able to get people to buy into your vision?
Yeah.
Because there's a very big difference between, you know, people who are very skilled and talented, but they're following someone who can't motivate, inspire,
Yeah.
cast a vision.
Sheep.
A sheep. And if you can be that lion at the front of the pack, or at least be pursuing the skills that enable you to be a much better leader, a character, and this is what we're always so advocative of, I don't even know if that's a word, but in the locker room, is transferable skills that you can take into any walk of life.
Yeah.
And leadership
quote
is
of
a
ours.
massive one there.
Yeah.
Tying off the back of that, another quote that my dad told me as well, which really stuck with me massively, was, if you want people to build ships, don't gather the wood, tell them to do the work and force them and tell them to build the ship. Get them to yearn and desire to reach the long, unending ocean.
Oh, wow.
So the lesson in that is,
Feel the emotion.
if you
wow.
can get people to buy into your vision and get them to emotionally buy into something you want them to do, their inspiration, their commitment. Think about it, even at your office or your job, if you're working a job and you believe that's genuinely connected to your future and your purpose,
100%.
you're so much more invested than if someone's cracking the whip and saying, do this for me.
100%.
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's like
the
you're
job.
doing out of like, because I have to.
Yeah.
And if you're someone like Alexander the Great that can be that leader at the front of the pack and cast a vision and get people to buy into that and want to be on the ride with you, you will make unlimited money, be a leader, connections, and fruitful relationships. So
love
that's
that.
what I'm pursuing.
That's awesome.
That's
And-
great. That's great. That's
and
great.
you know, we've got a long way to go.
Bayley
all of
the
us.
Great.
Bailey the Great.
And the bar's super high, but like we said, don't ever put limiting beliefs on yourself. And that's kind of the level that we all
100%.
should be striving for. And that's something inspiring that you want to be around. And that's when you get that energy that rubs off on people and like, whatever that is, I want to be a part of it. So
love
that's
that.
kind of what I'm pursuing.
Wow, amazing,
awesome.
amazing. And that kind of ties into, you know, a point that I was going to make next, which was talking about the importance of your identity. I think identity in this day and age, you know, in 2024 is such a massive topic because, you know, we obviously respect everyone's opinions and beliefs, but at the same time, there are so many people that are lost about their identity.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of society is propagating like different identities, you know, at all times or whenever you feel like it based upon emotions. And what we just covered before was how emotions can be, you know, fleeting and just kind of get like phases and not literal. So a massive thing that I learned, which is actually what a mentor taught me about 2 years ago, has really helped me, man, like so much. And it's about identity. And what he said to me, and obviously for me personally, you know, I believe in God as a Christian. So he basically said to me, Jamie, like one of the most important things in your life is to only and always have your identity in Christ. And I thought that was like such a massive pivotal statement that he made because from that day, which was 2 years ago, I still remember it. It still impacts me for the better. And I still even talk to people about it. And I'm not saying that people out there's identity have to be in the same as mine, but when you have an identity that is fixed and foundational,
Yes.
where you're not confused about who you are every 2 days. You're not confused about if the weather or the season changes, maybe I'm this now. No, like you
You're
know
not just
who you
swaying
are.
with the popular mantra. Or
Exactly.
And sorry to cut you off, but tying into that, there's so many people out there that actually change their identity on the room they're in. Someone
There you
might walk
go.
into this room
we've talked about
and they'll adopt our perspective to be cool in this room, and then they'll go
Exactly.
into another room
And
and,
then
completely
complete opposite.
change
Complete
just to be
opposite.
like, I want to be,
Just to fit in.
I want to change just
Exactly.
so that I feel respected by those people.
Exactly. But when you actually know who you truly are, and when you get to a stage where you believe in, you know, something so strongly as
So
I guess we all
powerful,
do,
bro.
it's so
So
powerful.
powerful.
So
Because you
powerful.
can go anywhere, and as you said, you can maintain your integrity, your morals, and your values towards anyone and anything.
And everyone knows.
Everyone
Yes.
knows.
They're like, that guy, he does not change for
He's
anyone.
unshakable. Yeah.
He's who he says he is. He's genuine.
Exactly.
And what he says, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And,
And-
people
and-
respect that
100%.
more, even if they don't agree with you, even if they
100%.
think, oh, I'm not about that,
Yep.
whatever he believes in, but I can see the conviction and he's
I hear that.
immovable.
I've heard that like about some of my mates who are like very, you know,
Yep.
very confident in their identity. I hear other people be like, oh, I can't believe he does that, or why does he do that? And then they'll be like, but nah, like I respect him for it. There's always that respect factor,
100%.
even though, as you said, they literally don't agree with what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, think of it this way, right? I think identity is such a massive topic in this day and age because it's so fixated in who we are at the root of our existence. And I think when you can control a population where they become confused about their identity, or you encourage and propagate them having the ability to ever change it whenever they feel like it, that's when you can mass manipulate.
Yeah.
So I think that identity in my own life, for example, like as we spoke about emotions, we always have emotions. We always feel different every day. You know, we might be on one day and off the other day. But if you know who you truly are and you literally just fixate on that, and you're like, no matter what happens, I still know who I am, so nothing bothers me. You can say whatever you want to me. You can literally like call me the worst word, you know, that you want, or you can say the most horrible things about me, but I know who I am, and I'm never, you can't shake me. And I think as well, just one more thing on that is, as men watching this podcast, you need to understand that you are not only the rock of your family, but you're also the entire identity of your family.
Yes.
Because whatever you are, your family follows, and also your generations.
Yeah.
So if you as a man, say, have a girlfriend or a wife and you have kids as well, or whatever it is, even if you just have a family, your identity is far more important than you will ever even imagine.
I love that.
Because you're at the forefront of your family, you're leading the way, and so your wife and kids follow. And if you're shakeable, and if you're changing with the seasons and your emotions, your family's going to be in a massive, they're just going to be disrupted at all times.
And
So you
we're
have to fix
talking
that.
about how to, you know, if people are a bit in a rut or stuck and figuring out how to get motivated. What you just said there is the perfect antidote. Your bloodline.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't stop with you. We love this.
I was waiting for
because
it,
this
yeah.
gives you power, bro. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
literally breaking chains or setting foundations or setting the tone for so many people to come. And if that doesn't empower you and make you motivated,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was so. It was so convincing.
We're going to clip that
Bro,
for
that's
sure.
my curse.
Yeah. Every time he says a good thing, we're gonna have like a montage of Bailey testifying.
Anyway, you know what else going on.
Hey, but
All
I
my
guess
conviction goes.
I guess to finish off what you just said, Bailey.
He's like, know your identity.
I think for all the guys out there, we obviously like giving practical advice.
Yeah.
For us, obviously, we're all Christians, so our identity personally is in Christ. You guys out there need to find yours. It's so important. Whatever that is,
We're not saying it has to be Christ.
whatever that is
We're
to
not,
you,
you know?
whatever that is to you, whether it's different or similar, whatever it is, just find your identity, and that'll be the peace in your life.
So I'm going to take this a little bit on a, I guess, not so deep level.
Yep.
I want to talk about something that I have slightly touched on in past podcasts as well, but I think it's so important for everyone, because everyone at some point in their life have a relationship.
Yes.
That doesn't have to be with a intimate partner. It can be with your family. It can be with your parents. It can be with your best friend, siblings, whatever it is. Everyone has some form of a relationship at some point in their lives. Now, one thing I have been taught, okay, and this has also been reinstated in my life from Jamie, and this is resolve any arguments and don't let them fester.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So what this means is essentially we've all had issues, arguments, you know, disagreements with, again, our relationships, whoever that may be. And we've all wanted to, you know, let them come and apologize. You know, we all get petty and go, I'm not in the wrong. I'm not going to speak to them. I'm not going to deal with it. Let them come and apologize. You know,
Yep.
there's the whole, like, I'm not going to be the bigger man. Let them be the bigger man. And something that taken me later on in my life that I found out, which I'm so thankful for, because it's literally helped me in all my relationships, is to take all these arguments or disagreements like front on.
Yeah.
Deal with them straight away. Even like to the point where if it goes a couple weeks or even a week, it's something so small. It could be the dumbest argument, right?
Yeah.
Could become a big issue, and that relationship might never be the same.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you might literally never be able to look at each other the same because of the distance it's taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where all it could have taken was, and this is what I do, and I mentioned this, you know, whether it's with my friends or whether it's my partner or my parents or whoever it is, let's sit down, let's have this 20-minute, 10-minute uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
Let's literally talk about why did it happen? Does it mean anything else? Was there other things that contributed to this? What did I do wrong? What did you do wrong? How can we resolve this and move on?
Yeah.
And that is like, guys, I'm giving you this advice again. That will save your relationships. 100%. This little uncomfortable conversation of dealing with these issues straight away. Okay, maybe not the same day, but the next day. If you can, the same day, even better.
As soon as possible. It's like a ticking time bomb.
As soon as possible. Every hour that goes by, it becomes bigger. Sit them down. Be a fucking man.
Yeah.
Honestly, be a man.
So are you recommending everyone should always be the one to initiate that conversation?
Why not?
I think so.
Why not?
Yeah,
I agree.
Don't wait for the other person to become the man. If you are a man or if you're a woman watching, just who cares? No one's going to say, oh, he did it. If that person is genuinely as important as you think they are, they're not going to be, well, look, you apologize first. I'm bigger than you. No.
They'll respect you.
That relationship, if it's important enough to you, you don't care about all the other shit. You just want to resolve it so you guys can become stronger and move on.
And most of the time, people like that are in some sort of conflict, you might think to yourself, oh, well, maybe this thing happened, but maybe it's only me that feels it. 9 times out of 10, the other person does as well.
They do too.
And you're better off just even stepping outside your comfort zone. And let's be honest, it's always somewhat uncomfortable for the most part. But the aim should be, I think, like you and I, where it doesn't feel too uncomfortable. It's just
not
normal.
And it's not a blame game.
It's not a blame game.
It's not a blame game. It's not, you did this wrong, you're the wrong. It's like, okay, I might have done this wrong. Now that I think back on it, maybe I should have said this different way. Maybe I shouldn't have acted like this. You could have also done this. You both accept and acknowledge that you've done something wrong. There's always two sides, right? And then once you've decided it, think about how going further can we prevent this from happening again? Discuss, move on. That's it. It's in the past.
That's such good advice, and that can apply, like you said, in any relationship. And if you're the one that's initiating that every single time, there's not going to be any tension or people. And I think people respect when you're upfront and you're open with, and you'll say 100%. Things how they are, even if it might cause tension. And I know this is something that you're good at, Chris. And addressing people front on is always going to put you in a better position. Even exactly like you said, it's a bit. Can be scary sometimes.
Of course. But I think when you have such good brothers and such good relationships with people that you want to, maintain.
You get stronger through
that. You get stronger.
Bro. I love that.
You just watch. You have one little conflict and you both handle it correctly, brother. Your relationship's going to be like 10 times better.
So 100%. Good.
And I think we're all quite good at that amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of relationships, I have one that might throw you off a little bit. It's a bit random.
These are always good.
You might like it. A big life lesson that I've learned is, and just for context, I've sort of cleaned up my ways a lot in the last few years. My lifestyle is completely different and I'm very grateful for it. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned about life, especially for a man, is that sex is very powerful and shouldn't just be seen or viewed as a random act of nothingness. And I'll tell you why. I think when modern society views this physical act, we just think that, it's just a bit of fun here and there. We can sleep around with whoever we want and nothing will happen. But people that think that way, like I used to, are actually potentially wrong. I'll tell you why. If you think of the act of sex in itself, right, it's to basically form a bond and a connection between two people. But the power that is within the act of itself can create a whole new life. When you think about the power in that, you think to yourself, you start realizing you're like, wait a second, maybe there's something more to it than just, a bit of fun. And I think that what I see in society is it's a lot of hookup culture propagated, and I used to obviously fall into this, but what I learned about it is that it's much more. And you often realize at times why, say you're dating someone, for example, and, you're sleeping with them and whatnot, and then when you break up, there's such an emotional connection where it's like your heart's being torn into shreds. And that's not just because you like them. It was because there was a physical and also a spiritual act of intimacy that you guys shared.
It's a soul tie.
It's a soul tie. And that's, I guess, why, a lot of people and religions talk about no sex before marriage, because of the act in itself is so powerful. The second reason is because of the negative effects of it if you don't use it correctly or wisely. There's STDs around, unwanted pregnancies. You can really mess up a kid's life if you, say, sleep around a bunch, don't use protection, for example, and then have all these baby mamas, around the world. what's going to happen to that kid? The kid's going to be messed up. And we see it in you know, all the time with people that simply have divorced parents, how much it messes them up. Like myself, for example. But how about, you know, you being raised in a family where your mum's basically had you out of no choice but to keep you alive from a one-night stand. There's so many things about that can, I guess, get you caught up in this world that you don't want. So I think for me personally, a big life lesson is just to really see the act of sex as much more than a physical interaction, but one of extreme value and something that you have to be very careful of.
Yeah. Off the back of that, I think something that we love to focus on, or something that we've all learned through experiences, sleeping with someone, again, it's the soul tie, but you actually connect with them on a level where you almost like download or absorb what they're feeling or their energies or their emotional state.
Yep.
It's actually like, I haven't experienced it, but I've heard stories of people, you know, you sleep with someone and the next day it's almost like you just weighted this load of depression.
Yeah. Because
in God's design for sex, it is almost to the point where you have to feel the other person's emotions, because you've got a bond for life. And if you, it's created so that you can feel the other person's emotions and carry their baggage and get through it together. So if you're constantly going around sleeping with people, you're actually downloading their baggage without realizing it.
Yep.
It's that deep, and people don't realize that.
It
So if
goes
you
deep,
you
man.
wonder why, and you got to that point where your head's all over the place, you feel like your emotions are all over the place. Potentially, you're just downloading a whole bunch of people's baggage.
Yeah, it's not good,
like
man.
through
It's not
that
good.
act.
Yeah,
It's a lot deeper than people realize.
100%. So be careful out there, guys.
Yeah.
It's good.
No comment.
All right, on a different note, my last one is you can't get the fruit before you have the roots. And no one else can see the roots, only you know how deep they go. So, let me explain.
Please.
By fruit, I mean a certain character trait or an expression or a certain skill set. Think about a tree, right? Before it can even grow out of the ground, the roots have to go down. So if you want to be an incredible speaker or a courageous person or a leader, you have to spend almost years in the trenches building that and embedding those character traits within yourself before they become a fruit of your life. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you can't get the fruit of your labor until it's deeply ingrained in your personal character. And it's like personal development, for example. It's like you might go through a year of setting certain habits, behaviors, changing bad habits or anything like that. And you're building roots within yourself, but no one else can see you're really making those changes. It's not until like a year, 2 years later where they're deeply ingrained in your character and your being that the fruit of that hard labor starts being visible to everyone around you, to the point where like something's changed about you, but it won't be straight away because it hasn't become part of your character yet. So that's one lesson that's really stuck with me, is in like, don't expect to change overnight until you have that character trait you want to develop deeply ingrained in your core being. You might spend 2, 3 years, 5, 10 years building that, and no one else is seeing it because it's just becoming part of you.
Yep.
And then at the point where it's so deeply ingrained in who you are as a person, then it'll become a fruit of your life. So that's one thing that stuck with me, and it gives you motivation to be like, all right, I'm going to stick through this because it might not be true now, making money, anything.
Well, you see
Business.
those people all the time where it's like, whoa, something about you is different.
Exactly.
You know, like,
it
and
didn't
it-
change yesterday. That probably changed a year ago in their life.
Yeah.
You're only just seeing the fruit of it now.
And it's so good. It's very refreshing, especially when you see people in school, for example, that you knew to be some type of way, and then you see them like 10 years later, they're completely different.
Exactly,
In a good
bro.
way.
Yeah.
I went to a school reunion recently, a 10-year reunion, 2 years ago, I think it was. And it's so funny because what you just said doesn't apply to anyone that was at that reunion. Everyone's
mean?
exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
And not in a bad way, but I'm just saying, like, there's some people that you really notice something's changed.
Yeah.
Then others, it might be more subtle. You never know.
So I've got one more to kind of tie it all together. Kind of similar to the one you said, but still a little bit different. So one thing I think I read in a book, it could have been in one of David Goggins' books, one of those kind of motivational, self-help books. And the quote was, while you're out partying, someone else is at home putting in the work. Right? So this couldn't go like, that's just the quote, but this could go quite broadly.
Yeah.
And what this essentially means is that, whether you're trying to compete with someone, where you're trying to be the best at something, whether it's your sporting, if it's a sporting achievement, if you're trying to do something with business or whatever it is, if the times that you're out, and I'm not saying you can't have fun and party, we've all done it, but I'm just saying there's always someone at home when you're out wasting time dicking around. Someone else is actually putting in the hours to be better than you, getting ahead of you.
Yeah.
And knowing that and being told that at a young age, I guess motivates you to be like, especially with me, when I was coming up with my fitness journey, I sacrificed so many things. I don't get me wrong, I still went out every now and then, I still partied, but for a good 2 years, I sacrificed everything. And I would just think, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm like, am I doing it right? And I'm like, no. I know that they can't be going to the gym as much as me. They can't be doing as much exercise as me. They're not eating their food as much as me. Like, everything is on par. And if I don't do it, like those times where I'm like, I shouldn't go for that workout, I know someone else is going for that workout, and he motivated
That's
me
good,
go.
bro. I like that.
Doesn't matter.
They want your place.
100%. And we've said this before. Me and Jamie at some points in Melbourne, we would do like content all day, and then at 1 a.m. we went to the gym. At 1 a.m. we went to the gym. That's nuts.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Because we said we needed to go to the gym because we hadn't gone that day, and we said we were gonna go.
Yeah.
Like shit like that, where like if you put your mind to it, you have to do it because someone else is going to be doing that. And if that's something you want to achieve, like at that time of my life, I wanted to be the top, fitness, fitness athlete, or I wanted to be, the best.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was the best in the world or anything, but I think I got to a pretty good level for where I was. But that didn't come without me having that like motivation to know I need to do it every second of every day. And if I don't, someone else is going to be better than me.
That's so good. All right, guys, that comes to the conclusion of the episode. I got a lot of value from that from you guys. Hopefully you guys are listening, got some incredible value that you can implement today. All we ask is if that you learned something that will impact your life, that you share this with someone. 100%. That's the way this channel is going to grow, and we appreciate every single person that's supported us so far. And every time you share the link or share a reel with us to your friends and family, that helps us a lot. So if you got some value from this episode, we'd really appreciate it.
Like and comment as well.
And if you guys want to find us online, we are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also all streaming platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music under Locker Room Chat Podcast.
Awesome. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.